You ever have someone look you dead in the eye and say, "People like you don't belong here"? Yeah, that happened. Those exact words, cold as a steel trap, straight from the lips of Melline Cross, Queen Bee of the HOA, right before she tried to boot me out of the $15 million ranch I built up from a patch of dirt nobody wanted, a place I picked up for the price of a gas station coffee. I remember sitting there in that bland conference room, fluorescent lights buzzing, sweat sticking my shirt to my back like a badge of shame. Outside the window, my farm stretched all the way to the mountains, green and alive, something I'd built with my own hands, out of nothing but bad memories and stubbornness. You know what I mean? If you want to know why they came after me, why they tried to steal everything I'd bled for, you gotta go back. Not to some noble childhood, but to the day I set foot on that poisoned patch beside Lake Pinewood, Colorado, 42 years old and hollowed out by grief, fresh off the loss of my wife, Emily, to cancer. My old life in Silicon Valley, gone in a puff of smoke. The broker sold me this place for 20 cents a square foot. Seemed like a scam. But sometimes, when you're grieving, you make bets you'd never make if your heart wasn't broken, and that land, dead grass, sour air, earth that clung to your boots like guilt, felt like it matched what was inside me. First neighbor I met was Tom Bradley, old-school farmer, hands like worn-out baseball mitts. "Son, you know this was Apex Mining's dumping ground, right? They poisoned this land so deep nothing grows here. 15 years abandoned." He wasn't cruel, just sad. Later that night, I tore through court records and lawsuits, reading until my eyes burned. Turns out, this land was a graveyard for Apex's crimes, buried by legal payoffs and confidential settlements. It wasn't a bargain, it was radioactive, and I was the only fool desperate enough to touch it. Funny thing is, I didn't feel beaten. I felt something flicker back to life. Maybe I could bring something back from the dead, this land, and maybe myself. Emily used to say, "Build something that'll outlive us both." So I dove headfirst into microbiology and soil remediation, ordering equipment, sketching plans for a shed that was really a lab, hiding everything behind a garden fence. 3 days in, I get a visit her. Melline Cross, sharp suit, smile like a knife. I represent the lakefront community interests. Her handshake was cold and hard, her eyes measuring everything I owned, every inch of boundary. "You should really think about the challenges of developing here," she said. Only it sounded less like advice and more like, "We're watching you." When she left, Tom walked over, looking like a man haunted by his own history. "She cost my family everything, drove us off our land with rules and lawyers. Don't trust her." 6 months later, I'd built a shed full of IoT sensors disguised as garden rocks, rigged up composters that looked like water tanks, and developed what I called resurrection soil, using local fungi and kitchen scraps. I ran it all from my phone, keeping everything under the radar, knowing if the neighbors caught wind, I'd have trouble. And yet, the dirt started coming back. Microbial life shot up 300%. You wouldn't know it to look at the place, but beneath that innocent green grass, I was running the most sophisticated underground farm in Colorado. I didn't just want to survive, I wanted to win. Underground greenhouses, hydroponic channels, hidden irrigation. On the surface, it looked like I was growing tomatoes for fun. Beneath, I was building a proof of concept for how to heal poisoned earth. The chefs at the best restaurants in Denver raved about my tomatoes, asking how I did it. Brett Williams from Green Trace called one day, proposing a partnership, track every tomato, every carrot, blockchain style, bring transparency to the food system. I liked his energy, his vision, so we teamed up. But as I dug deeper into Apex Mining's records, the real horror emerged. They developed their own soil healing techniques, buried the research, let the land rot to dodge cleanup costs. That's when it hit me. I wasn't just growing food, I was sitting on proof of crime so big it made my skin crawl. Then the real heat started. Melline showed up with 2 muscle-bound inspectors, calling out code violations, slapping me with threats, 30 days to comply, or else. I found a tracker on my truck. Game on. I decided to up the stakes. 15 bee colonies, real showstoppers, to pollinate and act as an early warning system. Their honey, liquid gold. I entered the state fair. The media ran wild. Urban homesteader revives toxic land. Suddenly, I had a public shield. But it drew even more eyes, including hers. While building a windbreak wall, I hit a water vein. Ancient, Mineral rich, worth a fortune. The lab confirmed it was basically the fountain of youth bottled. Now I knew why Meline wanted my land. She was after the water, not the dirt. Cue the next move. A community meeting, Meline on stage, spinning environmental tales, painting me as a threat to the lake. She didn't mention Apex's poison, only how I might ruin everything. But I got help from Maria Santos, Tom's daughter, a lawyer with a spine of steel. She'd watched the HOA destroy her dad, and she wasn't about to let it happen to me. Things hit the fan one night. Men in the dark with sledgehammers destroyed my beehives. But the bees fought back. Videos went viral, public sentiment flipped. Hidden cameras caught Rick Molina, the HOA's hired hand. In the act, slam dunk. Maria and I dug deeper. Turns out, Meline was the architect of the land scam, orchestrating cheap sales of poisoned property, planning to scoop it up and flip it for luxury development. Tom told us how they broke him. Fines, harassment, bulldozers through his wife's garden on their anniversary. That cruelty, that surgical cruelty, lit a fire in all of us. Brett uncovered more. Any farmer who said no to Meline lost their customers overnight. Consultants warning restaurants about supply risks. Detective Ray Harrison started connecting the dots, and when Rick Molina faced jail, he flipped, admitting to poisoning wells, sabotaging irrigation, carrying out orders from the top. Meline responded with a monster lawsuit, environmental violations, health hazards, demanding millions. Classic legal bludgeon. But Brett had made a friend at the Denver Post, Jessica Harper, a Bulldog reporter. She traced Meline's scam across 10 states, linking land grabs to accidents that seemed more like hits, fires, car wrecks, heart attacks. Then it got personal, a midnight call, voice masked, warning me I'd end up like Emily if I didn't quit. For the first time, I wondered if her cancer was a coincidence or the ultimate retaliation. When the Colorado State Survey team mapped my water, they confirmed it was a multi-billion-dollar aquifer, the biggest in the Rockies. Jessica found proof. Meline had partnered with Aqua Global, a multinational thirsting for American water rights, planning to drain the aquifer for bottled water, leaving the region a dust bowl. Now it was all-out war. We launched Save Pinewood Waters, a grassroots campaign powered by Brett's app, tracking contamination, exposing just how deep the poisoning went. Families discovered chemicals in their wells, and the map lit up with dots of damage. This wasn't neglect, it was a calculated purge. Rick Molina confessed to more, deliberately sickening families, forcing them to move. Maria pounced when Meline's lawyers slipped up, filing sloppy injunctions that exposed their panic. And the governor stepped in, bringing in the FBI. Suddenly, it wasn't just my battle, it was a federal case. On the eve of the hearing, Meline torched my greenhouse. The sprinklers saved most of it, but she left behind her engraved lighter, proof she'd been there. That was the last straw. Court felt like a gladiator pit. Maria, now undercover with the FBI, dropped the bomb. 3 months of recordings, emails, banking records, racketeering charges. Brett's data visualizations stunned the room. Maps of contamination, time-lapse of my farm's rebirth. Experts testified I'd actually improved the environment, not hurt it. Rick told all, and then came the kicker, audio of Meline plotting accidents for stubborn owners. Even the judge was shaken. Verdict? Meline arrested on the spot. Arson, conspiracy, environmental terrorism, racketeering, you name it. Her empire collapsed. The HOA dissolved. Tom's land restored by the community. The story went national. Finally, folks saw how ordinary people could fight back and win. Sentencing day, Meline got 25 years, one of the toughest ever for crimes like hers. Millions seized, hundreds of families compensated. But even as I stood by my rebuilt farm, I got a letter from Zurich. Congrats on your victory. Interested in global expansion. The fight was just beginning. 1 year later, the Pinewood Regenerative Center covered 200 acres. Biggest sustainable agriculture site in North America, students from all over the world learning here. Brett's platform became a global environmental justice tool, mapping pollution and exposing crooks. Tom found peace teaching kids to heal land. Maria became a force of nature in courtrooms. Detective Harrison's new unit chased down polluters across the state. We created jobs, fed thousands, protected the water source for the whole community. The United Nations and EU wanted in on our model. Our bees became a symbol of hope, Pinewood honey is staple in high-end markets. Every cent funding more restoration. On the second anniversary, I left a jar of honey on Emily's grave. You should see this place, Em. We did it. I cried. But this time it was gratitude, not grief. The next generation is already picking up where we left off. Emma Bradley, Tom's granddaughter, an engineer now, pushing our methods to tackle climate change on a global scale. Project Phoenix aims to heal 100,000 acres in the next decade. And still, powerful people are trying to take what we've built. But now it's not just me. We're a movement. Ordinary people, extraordinary change. From a 20-cent wasteland to all this. I said at our celebration, we didn't just build a farm. We proved that one person, one community, can take on a system and win. If you're out there fighting your own battle, don't quit. Share your story below. Is what we did justice? Or just the start of something bigger? Hit like, drop your thoughts, and let's talk about what's really fair, what's really right, and how we can all fight back together.